If you ever felt like SCP was missing action-packed kaiju combat, then prepare for the war on all fronts. As they say, we're gonna need a bigger boat. Today we'll be covering the War on All Fronts canon, discussing its history and storyline, beginning with the attack on the Nexus Hybrazil and ending on the Anastasis arc. I'll say where to start regarding this canon, then cover some personal thoughts on the stories and themes presented within. Fair warning, though I won't be summarizing everything, some details in this video could be considered spoilers, so warning. Before we jump into it, I want to have as many subscribers as there are SCPs, which is like 6,000. So hit like and subscribe if you liked what you saw. Comment anything good or bad, or even your favorite kaiju movie. War on All Fronts is a canon created by the user Stormbreath in 2018, in a purposeful attempt to get every group of interest format in one storyline. Ever since then, there's been contributions from multiple authors featuring groups new and old. To be frank, War on All Fronts is a love letter to big monster movies like the Gojira of old or the Shin Godzilla of today. Like those films, there's themes that exist just as much as the action, mainly legacy and consequences. Here's a snippet of that right from the hub page. The canon also includes tropes of the genre and even story bits from the movies, such as the prophet who screams doom, the foolish scientist who caused the issues, and crossover fights to stop the greatest threat of them all, human error. Nah, I'm just kidding. They beat the hell out of a cyborg kaiju though. Now, there's some requisite knowledge you need before reading the articles or finishing this video, and I'll cover that right now. Because it features so many groups and ideas, there's a glossary on the hub, but here's the most relevant stuff. The plot revolves around the first attack on what's called a nexus. In short, a nexus is an anomalous location that operates like a normal city, but with SCP wiki quirks like teddy bear tail or something like that. If you want to know more about them, I've linked it below. The nexus in question is Hybrazil, a kingdom full of Fae, acting as a hub of commerce for many groups such as MC&D and UIU. Due to failing magic wards, the kaiju of the canon was attracted to it and decided to feed. The main monster in the series has many names, and I really do mean many names, but for the sake of simplicity, I'm calling it the Crocosquid. It is freaking cool. It's a giant with a crocodile head and 5 octopus tentacles and 5 arms to match. It also absorbs Eve and shoots it out in fire that doesn't stop burning. Side note, the article calls kaiju large-scale aggressors, or LSAs for short. For simplicity's sake, I'm calling them kaiju for the rest of the video. Kaiju, like the Crocosquid, give off Akiva radiation, which is generated by fate, so the more people believe in their divinity, the more power they give off. I also mentioned Eve, which in simple terms is the fuel by which magic is generated. It's not a Bioshock reference, by the way, but it does let magicians or other reality benders do magic things, and in this case, lets the Crocosquid shoot magic fire breath. Now, to something slightly confusing about this particular canon. There's 3 subcanons, all of which are unique timelines. You can get away with saying they're part of the same story, but for this video, I'll divide them into segments. Antecedent, Attack, and Aftermath lay the grounds for the 3 main timelines and is the baseline. The 3, should you read in order, covers before, during, and after the original Crocosquid attack in 1988. Antecedent covers Hybrazil as a nexus, acting as a local guidebook. Attack covers a post-report by the GOC and a point-of-view tale about the Crocosquid attacking. The format LTE 0851 Cetus really highlights the story overall. The main point is that the thing emerged from the ocean and attacked the Fae kingdom of Hybrazil. The GOC stepped in, and the creature was only stopped with a nuclear device, essentially rendering the kingdom irreparably damaged for years. Aftermath is the initial reaction after the attack, like the business group of interest Marshall Carter and Dark trying to create food from Crocosquid eggs. The tale Restless Dreams covers a nightmare version of the Crocosquid that attacks the literal dream world of Aniroi West. GRU P Case File Squid Ypsilon, however, I'd recommend reading later if you plan on reading Anastasis. It connects the most to that timeline, so I think you're best saving that until you hit Anastasis. Side note again, GRU Division P is a Soviet group of interest that was largely anti-American, so consistent with Russia back then. The Academics timeline covers a bunch of small aspects of the kaiju attack, though About Dear College and SCP-3741 only include small tidbits about the 1988 incident rather than be fully dedicated storylines to them. Analysis of the Ploka Maishukas, I'm never saying that again, is an academic document explaining how the monster works. The piece is an MC&D funded research of the beast's corpse, and it's a well-written document considering it's a fictional research paper. For a nice emotional piece, read On the Internet Nobody Knows You're a Kaiju. It covers the Crocosquid's consciousness seeking forgiveness and redemption for the actions of its live counterpart. Yes, it's a Gamers Against Weed article, but it's not as memey as you think it would be. Apocalypse is an alternate timeline where a Foundation experiment goes wrong. Basically, they found where the crocosquids come from, all of them arrive on Earth, eat everything, and then flood it. This canon somewhat connects to academics, but it's mostly its own thing that gets referenced slightly. To be honest, it's likely the weakest of the presented stories overall, but there are gems here and there. One such being the Kaiju Sea. It's a good Serpent's Hand format and tells a compelling narrative in that dimension. Now to the magnum opus timeline of the canon. It's got its own hub, but that's just a chapter guide with cool banners, so don't be scared. Following the events of the GRU Division P article, the lead researcher takes the project in Prometheus Labs to revive the crocosquid in 1998. And when the crocosquid wakes up, 27 other kaiju do. It's a cool moment that I'm doing a disservice, so please go read it. The storyline then follows the Foundation's efforts to stopping the threat, which involves building a freaking robot with a hat blade, and it's powered by the sun. The plot has great buildup, especially in Queen of the Monsters and Reviviscence. It all leads to an epic fight in SCP-5514, which I will not spoil, but I will compliment the clear action sequences that come straight out of movies like Pacific Rim and Legendary's Godzilla. Due to the amount of content I just shoved down your throat, here's the best way to tackle it all if you explore these articles yourself. Read all of Antecedent, Attack, and Aftermath in the presented order, starting with NX03 and ending on UIU file 1988-021. Skip the Group P file for later. For academics, I personally start with analysis of the Placomashukas and the On the Internet tale, as the other two articles only include tidbits of War on All Fronts. For Apocalypse, read in the given order, but I do emphasize the Kaiju Sea as a prologue before anything else. As for Anastasis, read the GRU P article first, then read it in the given order. Chapters that are highlights are SCP-5391, Reviviscence, and SCP-5514. So personal thoughts. Overall, it's a good canon, with Anastasis being the strongest narrative due to its chapter-based format, followed by Aftermath. What the canon really does well is do a written form of an action kaiju movie, and at no point was I not hyped when I read about SCP-5514 throwing its hat to slice up some monsters. Even the monsters were super cool, my favorite being Wake 2, which is an eel with an anglerfish inside of its mouth. I need someone to draw that right now. Thematically, I think consequence and responding to it is the strongest theme, from the crocosquid seeking redemption to the UIU trying to make right of the situation in High Brazil. Exploitation is a theme connected to consequence, and it's made clear in the different GOI articles, such as different groups scrambling to make profit off the original crocosquid attack or even successfully reviving it. The narrative seems closed, but there are places to expand, such as sequel tales at the end of When It's All Over, or major tales involving the rest of the kaiju. Actually, a bunch of them didn't even get named or described, so write your dream monster OC if you want to. Of course, get permission from Stormbreath first, and read all the guides so you get a better knowledge on how to contribute to the canon. If you've stuck with me this long, thank you so much for staying and watching. Special shout out to Stormbreath, who gave permission for me to make the video and answered questions during my research process. If you liked what you saw, hit like, subscribe, and comment below what your favorite kaiju is. I'll see you in the next one.